Yes, and we are like,
Yeah, I hope my screen is visible.
yeah, it is. Guys, at any point of time, feel free to drop in and ask your questions. Don't wait for the end because then the tempo somehow loses and we lose good questions. So let's not wait for that. Let's ask any questions if, there are at the moment.
Sure. Shall we start?
Uh, just a second. I just wanted to give a few people. Yeah, I guess now we can start. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, hi all again. So today's topic is CI/CD pipelines using our own Azure Devops. So the first thing which we would like to discuss, what is CI/CD? What does CI/CD stand for? What is the need for CI/CD, right? So CI/CD stands for continuous integration and continuous delivery. So any one of you would like to share some thoughts on what they know about CI/CD? Anyone? Just anything you know about CI/CD? Okay, great.
It's a process where we can continue integration. Suppose anything we have developed. So whenever we developed and we have to commit in some repository, so immediately that
Mhm.
code will be tested, validated, and upgrade to lower environment to upper environment.
Ah,
So
yeah,
for that purpose, to automate everything, we are using CI and CI/CD pipeline.
correct, correct, correct. Anyone else? Anything? Okay, cool. So CI/CD is basically I would say methodology which comes under generally used under agile method of software development. So CI/CD is your CI stands for continuous integration and CD stands for continuous delivery. So CI helps in merging all of our code into repos. By repos I mean repositories, and in this we can, whatever we write. For example, I am a developer and write some code today. I can integrate it or send it to my repository, and that repository would be responsible for storing all my code. CD stands for continuous delivery. So I committed my code into a repository. Now I will deliver it to some environment, right? For example, I created a Mulesoft POC. I want to deploy it to my cloud app. So what will I do is I'll set up this code into a repository. Then I'll make some pipeline via which I can deploy it to any of my environments. That might be my sandbox, that might be my development, that would be production, anywhere. So CI/CD pipeline is used for automating all of this process. This includes my testing, my build process, my uh, pushing my code to the source repository, and then deploying it to any of the environments. So yeah, that's about CI/CD. Now, what is the need for CI/CD? See, as we are living in a world where agile has become our norm, right? So there we need some tools or some methods via which we can deliver and create our code faster. So CI/CD helps in doing that. Of course, CI/CD sounds that it is an extra bit of work. We have to create pipelines, we have to create different repos, we have to make some, use some tools in order to work on other than what we are already developing. But still, it is now an essential part of our industry. Reason, it makes my span time span very short, in which I can deliver some part to the customer. Okay, so what are the benefits of CI/CD? See, as you know that in agile we have different sprints. A sprint might be from a 2 weeks time to a 3 weeks of time, right? So I want to code faster and deliver faster. So in this, my CI/CD helps in a very great manner. I can have very small code changes, right? I have 2 weeks time, I have 3 weeks time. I can make small code and push it to my uh, environment. If there is any fault or anything that might come up, I can isolate it to one point and pinpoint to exact in which build the error was coming, in which release the error was coming. Of course, as I'm delivering it in every 2 or 3 weeks, my release rate would be faster. This in turn gives the customer a bit of satisfaction. For example, I have a commodity that I want to buy, an A commodity. If I get a flavor for that before the finished product, that would be really great for the customer to actually know how it would work and how my product will be at the end. So that is really great. It would improve my code quality and would surely satisfy the customer, right? It increases the transparency and accountability of team. Everyone is having a single kind of a role, and that part is very visible to everyone, like what A person is doing, what B person is doing, what C person is doing. Everything can be managed, everything is very transparent, nothing would be opaque. Like I can see easily what my colleague is doing. And then of course, maintenance and updates are really easy in this case. Just if you find a bug, fix it, push it to the main your, not the main, but yeah, any of your branches. For example, you have development environment, you can push it there, no issues. Now, there are several tools which are used for implementing these CI/CD pipelines. For example, there Jenkins is one of the most renowned tools, which is open source. Then there is Azure Devops, on which we are taking the session, right? Then there is AWS Code Commit, Code Pipeline, GitLab, Bitbucket, and these days there are several newer tools such as Buddy, Semaphore, right? So all of these tools have various advantages and disadvantages, right? So today we would be focusing on Azure DevOps. So I would like to know if anyone has any questions up to till this point. Anyone? Rahul, could you also please check the chat if someone has any
Yeah,
questions?
sure, sure. Yeah, so there is a one question: what is the difference between continuous in delivery and continuous deployment?
See, in CI/CD, the D stands for delivery. It is not deployment. Continuous deployment, I actually don't know if there is anything, but yes, the CD part, the continuous delivery means that we deliver our product into some environment along with the testing part. We build our code, we integrate it to a repo. That part is CI. That then we test that code, send it to the environment. That is the CD part. So
Yeah,
that is
basically
what my understanding.
continuous deployment means to say that it's an automatic process. So for deploying anything, we are automating any process. So that is called under the continuous deployment. Coming to the continuous delivery part, so making those deployment in a safer side and checking those deployments on a particular point of view, so that we can give a proper delivery. That's we can say that it's a continuous delivery. So it's a continuous delivery. You can say that on above of deployment, we are having checking that it's proper safe to deliver it or not. So that is comes under the delivery. That is the basic difference. Yeah, Kushagra, go ahead.
I hope that answers the question.
Hi everyone. I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm Trupti. I want to know why have you chosen Azure DevOps? Does it have any major advantages over the other tools that you have mentioned?
Yes. Yes, actually a lot. See, Azure provides its own kind of agents, right? Where you can deploy it. For example, if you take any open source tool such as Jenkins, you can run it locally and it is open source, that is fine. But if you want to deploy it somewhere, right, you will have it on some server, then only everyone can access it, otherwise it would be locally on your system. So in that case, you have to pay for that AWS or Azure, anywhere you are actually hosting your Jenkins, right? That would increase your pricing, of course. Then secondly, you'll have to configure everything on your instance wherever you have deployed that Jenkins tool. For example, you have to specify what Java version you have to use, you have to specify what memory, how much memory you have to use. And even if you have um, told that yes, I'll need 2 GBs of memory, but in case your Jenkins takes up 3 gigs of memory after some times, so that would cause multiple issues. So all that configuration part is taken care by Azure. Secondly, not only the CI/CD part, but it also has other features such as your storing the artifacts and also having your sprint planning only on Azure DevOps. So everything is present on Azure. We'll come to it when we are telling you the features of Azure. But yes, Azure is better in many ways. So that is, yeah, thanks. So any more questions or shall I proceed? Okay. So now, why Azure DevOps? What is Azure DevOps? Let's cover that part. So, Azure DevOps is a set of services provided by Azure on which developers and architects, solution architects, everyone can collaborate, have an idea how our work is going on, have a repository, and store the artifacts, build pipelines, build test plans, anything you can think of besides development you can do on Azure. Okay, there are multiple services provided by Azure DevOps, such as your Azure repos, where you can store all of your code. Then you have your Azure boards, where you can do the sprint planning, your Kanban boards. You can have your backlogs there, the user stories, everything you can think of for a sprint you can store it there. For pipelines, you are having your Azure pipelines, create your pipeline there. You don't even have to code it there. For example, in Jenkins you'll have to write a Groovy script. If I go to Bitbucket, I'll have to provide the YAML for that. But in Azure pipelines, it is up to you. If you want to use a pipeline, that is fine. But it provides you a user interface so easy that you can create your pipeline just by making some clicks. That's it. Then there is Azure Artifacts, where you can store any of the dependencies which you may require in future. Any of your testing part, right? What is the code coverage? How much you want your I mean, if you want to automate the test process, you can do it in Azure test plans. So some of the features of DevOps is the first, like I just told you, it has a very simple user interface, and it already has a repository built in, which is Git based. So it is really easy to understand it. Most of us have some exposure to Git at some of the time, so it is just the same. You can use it via your CMD, push your code there. You can do anything. It has a lot of built-in tasks. So if I talk about the pipelines, you don't have to actually specify what kind of uh, I mean build tool you are using, right? For example, for Android you need Gradle pipeline. So you can just go select the Gradle template, build your pipeline. For Maven, you will go select Maven and build your pipeline. It's so easy here that you don't have to worry about what you are using or not. And then on top of all of it, we have the analytics provided. Analytics and metrics such as your runtime, right? How long did it run, where the pipeline failed, and what are the artifacts that are being downloaded. Everything is provided in this. Yeah. So, any questions around it? Any questions we have?
I guess there's one question on the chat. Is possible to with Azure DevOps deploy code on load balancer also? That
Yeah,
possible?
yeah. It is it possible? I think so. We can distribute a load to the multiple resources. So yeah, it is possible.
No, no, hold on. Is it possible with Azure DevOps deploy code on load balancers? Code on load balancer. I mean, where exactly you want to deploy the code?
Uh, See, load balancer. I mean, if you have a load balancer set up on your Cloud Hub, right, then you can deploy it. I don't think there should be any issue because this is just a pipeline. This just helps in deploying your code to wherever you provide the details, right? If you have provided your load balancer in the configuration, it would definitely deploy it there. There shouldn't be any issues.
Uh, as we do a manual testing, manual deployment, then we have to deploy our code in load balancer and main server. So by using Azure DevOps, we have to deploy our code in two environments separately.
If see, if manually you have to deploy it on two places, right, then via the pipeline also you have to deploy it at two places, correct? If my code is working only if I deploy it at two places, then by the pipeline also we have to automate the same process, right?
Okay,
Yeah, but we can provide it in our, see, in the end it uses the pom file and all the configurations you do on your Cloud Hub, or for that matter anywhere else. It is not only specific to Mulesoft, right? You can use it to deploy it anywhere. So that is what my point is. It depends on your configuration of the end systems or the environments where you have set it up. I
okay,
hope
thank you,
that
Kushal.
answers your question. Yeah, cool. So any other questions? Okay, so now I would like Rahul to kindly speak up.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So can you please move to the next slide? Yeah. So yeah, let's understand what is repository. So by the name only you can get to know that it's a storage place to store your project, that is source file and all the versions, that you can store it in a one place. And going back to decades, so earlier we were having only local storage, and where team members used to store their project in a local, and they used to do a separate deployments. So but now a time we are having a cloud repository too. So there we can make a repository where we can make our project source files there and set up it, and all the team members can have access. That is totally privileged. We can give access to multiple team members, and those team members can have access of those repository, and they can push their repository by having a change on a daily basis or a weekly basis. It depends on the team members and the type of project. So some of the repositories name are that Nexus, Azure, and Chocolatey. These are some repositories name which are there in the market. And some major version control system, that is Git and SVN. These are the major players which are existing in a market. So yeah, Kushagar, can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So let's understand what is DevOps pipeline. So it's a automation process that by the help of tool we can simultaneously build and deploy our code. uh, so that there is a option in Azure DevOps to automate the triggering once you push your code to the repos, it will be start automatic triggering to deploy starting the pipeline. And second is that way we can do a manual intervention also by a human need, and whatever the time you need to deploy that particular pipeline and wants to run the pipeline. So yeah, both the ways we can do it. Yeah, Kushal, can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So some of the prerequisites required for doing running a pipeline and hosting a repo and on Azure DevOps. So we need a hosted parallelism access for the Azure DevOps. Second thing is we need a Anypoint Studio for making a project for Mulesoft. And second thing is that Maven and Git installed in your machine, so that having your settings.xml file for Maven. So let me just quickly show my screen, share my screen, and yeah, Kushal, can I have the access? Yeah, sure, I'm having. So yeah, this is the interface. Hope the screen is visible. Can anyone confirm?
Yeah, it is visible.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
visible. Yes.
So this is the basically Azure platform dashboard used to look like. And once you will be having a sign up on your Azure DevOps, you need to fill one Google form to have a parallelism access. So you need to give your name, email address, and organization name, and submit it. So within 1 working days, you will get a parallelism access to run your pipeline. So let me just quickly show that how to create a project. So by clicking on this, you can have the project created here. So yeah, you can give the name of the project and description. So let just me do it here. Yeah, see, once the project will be created, we can initialize our repo. So we can go in the repo section and we can go down and we can initialize it. So after having initialization, we can clone the repository path and we can have a setup in our local system. After having a local system, we have to push our codes to the repository, and then we can do a setup of pipeline. So how to do a setup of pipeline? Let me just show you that. So we can create a pipeline from here. Let me just go back. So once you will be having an empty job, you can add two things which will be required. That is the first thing, that is Maven is required. You can add it. And second thing is that is secure file is required for Maven settings.xml. So yeah, if you'll go in the secure files, it is asking any secure files. So that settings.xml file, we can choose it from our local system and we can make it here. So this file will be stored in a secure file under library. So that will be totally secured, and we can give a reference of this settings.xml by giving a name, any name. So if you give any name, it will give you a variable path. So this path will be pasted inside the Maven options. So if I'll show you the Maven options, so what you can set your goal, whatever the things you need to do it. So for now sake, let's take it. So what it's stating that you have to deploy your project on cloud. So it's a goal set it, so you can have your options here. So whether you want to skip test, what are the reference file you are referring it with settings.xml, and and what are the your credentials, those things you can make it here. And for passing those credential, we are having an option to create a variable. From here you can have your variable, you can give your username. So yeah, so by these things you can, if you think that anything which is sensitive, that is like password or client ID, client secret, those things you can pass it under the library. There is a one option to have a variable group. Inside that variable group you can create a password like those things which will be required to have a secure. So if I give anything value, if I encrypt it, so it will be secured. And once we will be declaring a variable group, we need to refer those variables in pipeline variables. So this secured variable has been created. Going back to the pipeline, so in the variable section, you can add a variable which has been secured. So just go in the variable groups and link your variable groups. So see here, just it's coming whatever we have defined it there. So we can link it up here, and that will be not shown to any other members. So yeah, sensitive information. This is how we can set it up. And yeah, we are having a auto triggering option also to run a pipeline. So in the triggers, you can enable your continuous integration. Once you will push your pipeline, once you push your repo in your repository, it will automatically trigger your pipeline and starts running that thing. So yeah, these are the things, basic things required and prerequisites to understand how to run a pipeline, how to set up a repo, and how to set up a variable, how to give a secure variables. So yeah, these are the things needed, required before setting a pipeline and repository and running those things. So yeah, I would request Kushagra to go ahead and have a quick real-time experience on project.
Sure. Let me share my screen. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yes, Kushagra, it's visible.
Okay. Okay. So before coming to the pipeline, let me show what we have done. First, we'll go into the repos, right? We have just up had this code. Rahul had committed this code, and I have cloned this into my system. Okay, and then I have imported that project in my workspace. So this is a very simple project, nothing too fancy, just a listener and a set payload. But the for configuring our deployment part, right, for that we have to give some tags in our pom file, which is specifically inside the configuration of your Mule Maven plugin. So the plugin which is responsible for this building with Maven and deploying it to different environments and places, Mule Maven plugin is responsible for that. Okay. Inside this, we will provide a tag called Cloud Hub Deployment. Okay, and in this we have our specifications. For example, what we need to have there. For example, what should be the URI, what should be the Mule version, our anypoint username, password, number of workers, worker type, region, environment, everything you can provide it either here or provide it as a variable which we'll define in the pipeline. So these are some of the tags which I used. You can also go through the official documentation for the same. There is this link which I'll share in the chat. uh, Ajay, we need to use enterprise edition. No, just a trial account is also fine for this part. Just you need to have access to the pipelines and repos. That's it. No need for enterprise edition. Fine. Uh, so yeah, I was going through the documentation. So yes, this is the same as we have provided there. So there are multiple, options which we can provide here, like the username, password, the application name which you want to deploy with, any artifact you are using as a jar file, the environment where it has to be deployed, any properties, runtime properties which you are selecting, any workers, worker types, region, object store version 2, if it should be enabled or not, then persistent queues, business group, anything related to your deployment, everything should be placed here. Okay, then you need to make sure that this updated POM is present in your repository. Otherwise, the pipeline would fail. The second most important thing required is the settings file of your Maven. So, uh, in that, you have to provide your servers from where you have to pick it up, right? What should be the username, what should be the password, what would be just a name basically you'll provide in the ID. Then you have to provide your repositories which you would use in this deployment part. So from where all the dependencies would be fetched, where you would deploy this. So you can provide it here as well. The Maven dependencies from where it would be fetched. So you'll provide that. Now, coming to the pipeline part, let me go into it. Yeah. So as Rahul just told, we provide this maven pom.xml and a secure file. So this secure file is uploaded into library in secure files, and that is used there. In variable groups, we made a variable group called credentials, and there we have provided the username and password and made them as secrets so that no one can actually see the plain text. Even if I unlock it, I can't see the plain text. See, so yeah, in the Maven POM, we'll provide the goals of our Maven, and then we'll provide the settings file and any of the parameters you want to use, right? Like the anypoint username we have to provide, anypoint password which we have provided in the POM. This tag, the -d mule tag, is of utmost importance because this is a mule Maven plugin tag, and this will help you to deploy your package to Cloud Hub. Then we have our client ID, client secret, which we have provided for our environment, and we have provided this tmaven repo.local as a variable as Maven cache. Now, see, if I do not provide the cache, my pipeline would work fine without any issues. It would deploy my code to Cloud Hub and everything would be fine. But in case I have multiple dependencies, right, and I do not provide a cache here, so what would happen is every time I run my pipeline, the dependencies would be downloaded again. So, for example, my pipeline took 30 minutes in the first attempt just because of the dependencies which were getting downloaded. There were multiple dependencies. For example, I was using the Salesforce connector, I was using a Snowflake connector, I was using database, FTP, everything in my project. It would take a lot of time to deploy on Cloud Hub just because we have to download the dependencies again and again and again. But if I provide a cache, okay, a cache will store all those dependencies for 7 days exactly without an activity. If I am active between these 7 days, the cache will be maintained. But in these 7 days, if I do not use it, the cache will be refreshed again. So here we have provided the path to the cache. Now I'll just show you where this variable is and what it refers to. But the first thing is the key. So see, what this key means is the file which will be checked if there is a change in it, and if there is a change the cache will refresh, that will be a cache miss, and then the dependencies would be downloaded again. So it will check the fingerprint of this file. So whenever you make changes into your POM, that is whenever a dependency is changed, right? then it will download the dependencies again. Otherwise, it won't. If you do not make any changes in the POM and make some changes in the source code only, then what it will do is it will just mm, take the dependencies from the path. So now let me show you what this path is. Let's go to variables. Now this is the path, pipeline.workspace. Remember, this is an internal Azure variable. This refers to the pipeline workspace where actually your pipeline is running on an agent. And this is the Maven repository .m2 repository, which is also created on your local whenever there are any dependencies downloaded. So if I show you my local C, so see .m2 slash repository, here all of my dependencies are downloaded. In a similar fashion, on Azure also, it downloads all the dependencies into the workspace in this folder. So this is the cache home which we provide. And whenever we execute this pipeline, my cache would be hit first. It will check whether there is an update in the POM or not. If not, then it will be a cache hit. It will go to my Maven file. It won't download any dependencies as all the dependencies are already there. Then it would start deploying it. Okay, and then at the end it will just check if it needs to change the cache again or not. So now everything looks fine. Let me just queue this job. You can also queue it via your push. If you make any changes into your code, it would be used via this trigger. As we have enabled the continuous integration part, whenever we make a git push from our code, it would trigger this job and then it will update it. So let's do one thing. Let me make some changes in the code itself. Okay, let's change it to now. You will see that these changes are now staged. I'll index it, give a commit message, and push. Mm, I think there is some issue that no issues. Just I'll do it from the CMD instead if that is the case. No issues. Source file is changed. No. Rahul, what is the issue with the password? Did we change it somewhere?
Yeah, last week actually password was not working properly, so we have just raised a request to reset the password. So I
Okay.
think because of that it will be getting a problem. So
Okay.
what are the options you just want to show it, that auto triggering option?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Yeah. So it has pushed the source code and I'll see my pipeline has executed. So it will just go and check. So see, there is a cache hit, as you can see on the screen. So it won't download any of the dependencies in the when it is running the Maven now. It will just pick the dependencies from my workspace and it will start deploying the application. Yeah. So it will take some time. Till then, if anyone has any questions, please go ahead.
Kushag, one question. So this
Mhm.
cache, right?
Yes.
You have defined it for your dependencies, right? Can we do the same configuration for our any other cache that we are going to do in our code? Is
Yes, yes.
that same?
See, this is for caching only the dependencies, right? For our case. But if you have a cache, for example, let me go back to my pipeline, right? We have provided the key here. You can see, right? So if you have any other key, this is just to check if there are any changes in the POM file. If you want to have any other, changes you want to check, you can keep it there. And the path, you can specify where you want to store those files. So you can use it that way also. And you have a cache hit variable as well if you want to enable any variable to check that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is going to be another cache
Yes.
configuration, right?
Yes. Yes. Correct. Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Rahul, any question in the chat?
No, I don't think so. No, there is no question. One question was there, which I have already answered in the chat section.
Okay, cool. And yes, before I forget, there is another way to store these dependencies in my pipeline. Instead of using a cache, I can use the artifacts here as well. The Azure artifacts. I have to connect to a feed and then store my artifacts there. I have some option in my pipeline to do that. For example, there is this drop and copy files task in my agent, which I can add. So drop files is there. Download, if I want to download any artifacts from any files here, I can do that. And if I want to copy any artifacts, I can do that as well. Okay. But the problem with the artifacts is that every time there is a change in the POM, my dependency should download. The reason being that, for example, I updated my Salesforce connector. If I store it in my artifacts, it won't be the updated version and the deployment would fail because in artifacts it is not downloaded and uploaded simultaneously. It runs after the job. So I have to use cache in that case. But if in your case you know that the dependencies would never change, the dependencies would remain always the same, then you can use the artifacts instead of cache. But again, I would recommend to use the cache as a, right, in POM there are many changes multiple times. So yeah.
Yeah, Kushak, could we check our pipeline? I think it would be a start.
Still applying. Let me log into any point and check. Mm, the application seems to be up now. Yeah. So yes. So it is now deployed there. As you can see, the pipeline is successfully executed. So yes, that is it from the demo side. So any questions for us if you have right now? Any questions?
Yes, Kushagra. So
Yeah.
there is this secure variable groups that we'll be creating, right?
Yes,
So that we'll just link and refer it the same way as the normal variable, right? Or is there
correct.
any different?
Just we have to link those. For example, we have these credentials created, right?
Hmm,
The first step after creating these variables would be to link it in our pipeline. Okay,
okay.
so if I go into variables, there is this option variable groups. So in variable groups, I'll click on link variable group and
Hmm,
select credentials. After that, they can be used exactly in the same way as you would use a normal defined variable like this.
okay. Okay.
Okay, unlike the variables I told you, so this pipeline dot workspace we have defined, right? So
Hmm.
in Maven cache, we can define it this way.
So it's just the dollar symbol and open close brackets.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank
Parenthesis,
you.
not the square brackets. Remember this? Yes. In our pipeline, we have to use parenthesis, not the curly braces. Otherwise, it will fail. The curly braces are used in our Mulesoft. That is fine on platform and inside, giving in the studio. But here, just remember to use parentheses. If you use any of the curly braces, the pipeline would fail.
The round brackets, right?
Yes, we have to use parentheses.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Any other issues?
Kushak, hey
Yeah.
Rishabh here.
Hi,
Can we
Krishna.
use file as well as a secure? Like if we want to use a key file,
Hmm. Key file as in?
like if we use for SFTP connection key file.
Hmm. Hmm.
So can we use like complete file as secure?
uh, you can secure that file, right? In the library, in secure files, you can use any of the files you want to secure. But the point is, how do you refer it in your pipeline? So see, the pipeline consists of your Maven command,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes. Yes.
So in the Maven command, can you use that SFTP path? If yes, then surely you can just connect that and use it in the Maven. Otherwise, I don't think so that would be worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one more question.
Hmm. Yeah.
So the sequence of the job runs like a job when job is running, the sequence of the every step will be the
Hmm.
same which we like giving here in the project,
Yes.
like cache in, then maven pom.xml, then download
Yes.
secure.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Be careful like which step we want to run first and
Correct.
then. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Correct. Yeah. Any other questions? Rahul, are we seeing any questions in the chat?
No. No, as of now, no.
Okay, then Shiva, over to you. I guess we are done.
Yep. We'll give a minute for people to consume and rethink if they have any questions.
Sure.
Sure.
Any questions from the experts? Abhishek, Harsh?
All good, Shiva. Nice presentation, guys. Well explained.
Thanks, Abhishek.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
no question, Shiva. But yeah, very nice presentation, guys. Thanks for
Thanks,
the time.
Harsh. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Right. All right, then. If there are no further questions, I guess it was worth the effort, and we can. I guess all the slides are covered, right? Prashant, Rahul?
Uh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
All right. So we'll do a quick quiz, and then we'll finish this trivia thing, and then we'll wrap off. Just a second, please. I need to figure out this thing. Rahul, I guess I can't start that quiz. You guys will have to start that. It's giving me a that I cannot start that.
Kushak, could you please check? Do you have access or not?
Sure. Hmm. Yeah, I have it.
Can you start that quiz and then share your screen, and then we can walk through that.
Sure, sure. Just a second. Can you guys please open this link for the quiz?
Guys, there's a link in the chat. Shag has pinned that. Can you join that link?
I'll share my screen also.
Yeah,
So I can see, yeah, people
people are
are
starting
joining.
again.
Yep.
Perfect.
Kushagra, can you tell us the game pin so that we'll join from there?
85803. I'll ping in the chat.